Hi, this is Steve Miller, and this is my video for the quote page that I made this week. So the first instructions were to show that I can navigate to it from the home page. So on one of these sliders here is the get a quote, and it does navigate to the correct page, along with right here as well. And so as required of the project type, you have to select which one it is. So we'll go with residential just to demonstrate how it works. And the scenario that you guys gave were if it was 100 apartments and if it was 3 floors with standard, and those are outputs, and my output for premium and output for Excellium. Then if we move over to commercial, the example was with 50 and 6 floors. So we'll regenerate that quote. Standard, now premium, and with the Excellium. And lastly, the industrial, which I don't remember the amount of elevators was required. I think it was 3. So it's standard, premium, and Excellium. And that's it. I don't know if you guys need me to walk you through the code, but I'll go ahead and start doing that now. If this is all you needed, I guess you can just stop watching. But the JavaScript, I created 3 constants to read what radio button is selected for the project type, and I added our event listeners here. And depending which one, it would turn the style display to block, depending which one. So it would select a residential and the pricing tiers at the same time, and then set the other ones to none in case I accidentally clicked residential and then went to commercial. It would shut off the other ones for residential and industrial. Then after that, I did the same thing for the pricing tier. Open those up. And whenever you selected any one of those, it would, and I assigned the element ID to the constant that correlates with the pricing tier. And whenever you get any one of these, it displays the quote button that I showed you earlier. Then I set a constant for the quote button, which is where I call my function that I define later to determine the total cost, and I pass into it 2 parameters, which are the results of check the selected tier and check required elevator functions, and assign that to total, and I log total for my debugging. And in this one, the quote button event listener, it would set the values for all 4 outputs to block, and then set their values to the outputs of this function, the elevator amount, the unit price, the install fees, and the grand total. So this was the function that I mentioned earlier that checks which project radio is selected. And it gets the element ID. And then it returned what, as a string, the selected project. And this does basically the same thing, except with the price tier. And this one is the required elevators. So I set the value of the element apartment's input, and I could go back and walk through all these on the HTML to constants, each input to different constants, and use those to perform my math functions on them. Use a switch statement for residential, commercial, and then else would be industrial. And then from those, I was able to get everything that I needed for my total cost function to actually determine the price. And this little line right here I learned off of one of the links that you guys shared for converting numbers into currency all in one shot. So that was super duper helpful. And this is how I do the calculations. Oh, and actually, as a way to shorthand things, what I did is for each pricing tier, I made a new list or array of the price and its multiplying factor on the price as a shorthand way to, so I wouldn't have to create 6 different variables. I only had to create 3, each one with an array that has 2. So I was able to, when I was doing the math, so I'm in the standard, so it's standard index 0, which is $8,000. Then when I was calculating the total cost, which is the materials cost, is elevators times price, and total cost is material cost times standard index 1, which it's a 10% premium, so times 1.1 will give you that result. And to separate just the install fees, I subtracted them again. And here's where I returned them, and I called that little function to convert everything into US dollars correctly. And it's the same thing for premium and Excellium. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions or any feedback, I'd love to hear it. But everything appears to be working. So thank you very much.